Not a matter of if, but when crisis will rock your world. I'm Roshini Rajkumar, crisis strategist, licensed attorney, and host of The Crisis Files. In each case file, we cover hot topics with top leaders. Electric, gas, hybrid. The world of what we drive and who's driving is evolving. Meantime, electric vehicle manufacturing is causing major pivots in the auto industry. Scott Lambert is president of the Minnesota Auto Dealers Association and lobbies for franchise new car dealers. Scott is here for the case file I call Electric Vehicle Shock. All right, Scott. Electric vehicles, probably one of the hottest topics of the last 5 to 10 years, but there have been changes happening.
There's been something of a crash, if I could use that word, with vehicles. 6 months ago, all the momentum was on behalf of electric vehicles. They had subsidies from the federal government. They had mandates coming out of Congress and mandates coming out of California. Minnesota was a California state. The governor ceded us to the California emissions program. Everything was going their way. And we all said, this isn't going to last. It's not sustainable.
So we're talking like 2024, 2025.
Deep into 2025. But when the election happened and people took office, it all went away. Last September, the subsidies went away for purchasing an electric vehicle, and Congress got rid of the California waiver. So suddenly, everything changed. It was a hard pivot, and it happened faster than anybody really expected.
Well, this is your first time on the Crisis Files. So great to have you here. But I, on my past life, on my radio show, had you on many times, and we talked about electric vehicles. Mm-hmm. And you always did, for like the last 8-9 years, you were saying words of caution about the EV industry. Remind me and let our viewers and listeners know why.
Well, the Nissan Leaf was really the first domestically sold electric vehicle in a mass production, a mass scale. They're wonderful automobiles. I don't want to disparage them. Their performance on electric vehicles are incredible. But they have range problems. They have range problems, especially in cold weather. And in the next decade, that never changed. You know, the technology never really got better. It never improved. And they were good for a few people, like so many vehicles. It was a niche vehicle. But the government was impatient, and they wanted the mandates to proceed.
They were fast and furious.
They wanted everybody to drive these, and everybody didn't want to drive them. And ultimately, the American consumer gets to decide what's going to happen. And we all kind of recognized this and said, this is not going to work for everyone. We don't all live in Southern California, and nobody really wanted to hear that. So it was policymakers with their head in the sand. We know what's best for the public. We know what's best for the country. You're all going to drive electric vehicles. And you can mandate the manufacture of them, but you cannot mandate that people buy them.
Right. The customers, the end consumer is going to do what they do.
Right. And they made their choices in droves. Now, hybrids continue to grow, and they're about 3 times the market of electric vehicles. Electric vehicles, at least in Minnesota, are about 5%. I think.
What about nationally?
Nationally, they're probably about 7%. 7 or 8%. It's better. It's better in the warmer climates, obviously. But you can't get away from the fact that when in cold weather, you're going to lose 40% of the battery power, and that means 40% of your range.
So there is, to be fair, electric vehicles, at least it seems to me, the lay consumer, I'm not an expert in this, probably better for the environment. Is that true?
That is debated because of the way they are produced. And there are those. It's controversial. You burn less gas, and there are no emissions from an electric vehicle, to be sure. But the construction of electric vehicle, the mining of the components for the battery, that sort of thing, that's pretty rough on the environment. So the disposal of these when they're at end of life, that's hard on the environment.
Because then what happens to that?
Yeah, it's not easily disposed of.
It's not recyclable, is what you're saying.
No, it's not recyclable. So it was controversial, to be sure. It was the people who really control the components for building electric vehicles were the Chinese. They have almost all of the raw ore and the rest of the components that it takes to build an electric vehicle, and they are pushing forward with their electric vehicle plans. They've got one of the most popular vehicles in the world that they're trying to dominate markets with. but it didn't fit really with America's national security concerns either. So there were all these forces pushing against it. And eventually, despite a strong constituency of people who really wanted everyone to buy an electric vehicle, it just didn't make sense.
So partly because of all of the mandates from previous laws and policy, these manufacturers rushed in. Now they've had to really reset. What does that mean that these different manufacturers of vehicles are resetting?
Well, the manufacturers who went hard into it and got a little bit over their ski tips are regretting that decision right now. General Motors has had to write off billions of dollars. Ford has had to write off billions of dollars. They are canceling plans for specific vehicles. The Ford Lightning, the pickup truck that was produced with such fanfare, and when they had commercials where they showed the pickup truck powering your house and that kind of thing. Well, none of that really worked. And the problem with the Ford F-150 pickup, again, these are beautiful cars if you're in them and it's a sunny day and you're going downhill, but they couldn't tow anything. So contractors would buy it and attach their trailers and barely get out of the driveway, and they're being told they don't have enough fuel to get anywhere.
It's fun. It's comical, but it's really not funny.
No, it's really it is. That's exactly right. It's sort of funny, but it's really not, because people made investments in these. I remember talking to a Ford exec who said, "This has to work. We can't fail on this car," and they did. And I feel bad for them. It's too bad. General Motors did the same thing. We just this weekend, the Volkswagen announced they're getting rid of the ID Buzz, that fun retro minivan, super fun car, really popular at the auto shows. People loved looking at it. They could not sell those. So for VW to start pulling back on really fun product tells you that just wasn't working.
And VW in general is a pretty smart automaker.
Oh, it's the biggest automaker in the world.
I mean, they've been around for so long and have other brands under them. I mean, it's disheartening. I'm a big car lover. Mm-hmm. I want to get into these, this reset of the manufacturers. And you mentioned General Motors. I just so happened, it was like a gift in my preparation for our conversation today. I happened to watch CBS Evening News where they were at the Detroit Auto Show. Mm-hmm. And this is like mid-January, end of January. And the CBS anchor interviewed Mary Barra, the GM, the CEO of GM. And I want to quote, she said, it wasn't that what they were doing didn't work. It's more of that was one step in the journey. So I thought that was an interesting way to twist it. And she says they won't leave it, but they have to really be in a place where the playing field is more level for everyone. Yeah. But here's what I thought was really interesting and reminds me of all the things you've taught me about EVs over the years, that she estimates for the year 2026, when this episode is dropping, the consumer demand is not going to be really any different from 2025. And it wasn't great in 2025. And I thought, wow, that is just too bad at the top of the year that the CEO of GM is predicting lackluster consumer demand.
Yeah, it's a nice statement to kind of save some face on the whole thing, but it just didn't work. And consumers were interested in the electric vehicle, but they weren't ready to really adapt to it, to put the charger in your house and all of that, and understand the lifestyle you have to live. You got to be careful. You can't, when the battery goes cold, it goes cold. You got to be careful about it. And the big thing was there was just never a technological advancement. They just couldn't get past the original idea of how these vehicles work.
And maybe, in another 5 to 10 years, there will be some. But here's the thing about consumers. There are pros and cons, right? There are people out there who are just live or die by these electric vehicles, or at least a hybrid. And I'm not saying, I respect that, but I want to just get in my car and go. Right. And I think there are a lot of Americans and people, frankly, all over the world that don't want to have to work on their car in the same way we're working on our bodies, working on our fitness, cooking our food. When I take my car in to get serviced, I just count on the mechanics, the experts, to fix it, give me the oil change, give me any fixes, give me a new battery, which I need to get later this month. And then I can just drive.
Yeah. Cars represent freedom for
That's
people.
That's a good point. That is a good point.
An electric car sort of constrain that freedom. You had to manage it. You couldn't just drive it.
You're a little imprisoned by it.
You are. That's a good way to say it.
I hate to say
you've
that.
You've got to be careful about it. Mm-hmm. So, and what's interesting was as this was going on, as this retrenchment was happening, a lot of people, a lot of lawmakers on the left side of the aisle would say, we're okay with this. We knew this was happening. It was unsustainable. There was going to be some sort of crash eventually.
Do you think they really did know?
Oh, I think everybody knew.
Okay.
Yeah, that this wasn't working. But nobody wanted to admit it. Nobody wanted to go tell that constituency, the environmental community, that this just wasn't going to work, that we're going to have to do a better job with emissions of gas-burning cars and spend more time promoting hybrids.
Right, hybrids. And can't we get to the technology where emissions control is built in? I mean, again, I'm no scientist.
Well, the emissions on gas-burning cars was getting better and better and better with every year. Detroit and all the manufacturers.
Just building them better.
We're just building them better and building them more efficiently and getting better gas mileage. The leap to electric was a nice thought, but it just didn't work.
Right. I'm imagining like two cliffs, like, in the movies, they actually make it over.
Yeah.
But this whole industry didn't
it fell
quite make it over. All right. We want to stay positive on the crisis files. So what are some trends in the coming years, Scott, that you see in vehicle manufacturing that will be good for consumers and might be kind of some hot topics for us?
Well, I think safety trends are going to be number one. I think AI is creeping into this. I don't know that we'll get to fully automated vehicles. There are a lot of issues, a lot of product liability issues with that. But it's always what I call creeping into this. If you get into some cars now, it won't let you change. It won't let you drift lanes. It'll give you sensors that'll tell you if there's somebody in your blind spot. That's all part.
Those are positives.
Those are all positives, and they're part of the coming age of autonomous vehicles. I don't know that we're able to get fully autonomous.
I wanted to talk about that with you because the self-driving car situation, the thought of, Waymo is one of the brands, the thought of going to a city that I don't know, and I already have no sense of direction, and just assuming this driverless car is going to get me somewhere, that requires a lot of trust.
It's a lot of faith.
A lot of faith in technology that I don't understand.
Yeah, I've been in Waymo vehicles. It's an amazing technology. It's like it's just constantly the radar.
Do you just talk to it and it goes?
No, you put it in your phone. This is where I want to go, and then it just shows up, and you get in. The problem is if it's on a road that goes and the speed of that road is 40 miles an hour and there's nobody in sight, it'll go 40 miles an hour. It won't go 42 miles an hour. You can't tell it to step on it. The other problem I had was it kept dropping me off 2 blocks away from my hotel. And there's no one to yell at. When that you can't say, no, pull up.
Yeah.
You just get out of the car. The ride's over. You're just done. Mm-hmm. So there are some shortcomings to it. The biggest problem with autonomous vehicles is that at some point the human has to take control. And the few fatalities we've had is when the car was saying take control, and they didn't. So suddenly it ends up into a fatal problem.
And that's still a liability issue.
And when I say product liability, that's the problem.
That's the problem.
Can we get away from that?
So if we're looking at two tracks, all right, to kind of stick with our car and auto language, and one track is electric vehicles, hybrids, if you want to put them on the same track but different lane, and then the other are these self-driving vehicles. Which one do you think is going to advance faster in the next 2-3 years?
Hybrids. By far.
Really?
Hybrids.
Okay.
Hybrids are far more popular. They're reliable. And
there's still a human driving it.
And there's still a human driving it, and you get the fun of having electric, but you have the backstop of still having a gas engine, just in case you get stuck somewhere and you're not near a gas station, or you can't fill up, or you can't recharge. It's insurance when you're driving, and I think that's by far going to grow. There's still a place for electric vehicles. But it's not going to be 100%. It probably won't be 40%. It might be 20% down the road. Autonomous still has to figure out a lot.
In our lifetimes, do you think?
Maybe. I mean, they can do buses like that, but it's easier. Again, it's easier in southern climates where you can see the curbs and you can see the lane markers and all of that. It's harder.
They don't have that black ice issue that
That's
we
right.
have in the north.
That's right. And it's you don't have ice-covered streets and things like that. So it's also an urban vehicle. It's not meant for country driving. They're nowhere near that sort of thing where you don't have where your driveway is just your front lawn, that sort of thing. They can't do that with autonomous vehicles yet. So those sort of things are going to imperil it.
Well, it'll be really fun to watch. So we appreciate your insights. And, on the Crisis Files, I always like my guests to name names where appropriate. So if you could sort of take off your hat of being a lobbyist for those new car franchises and just let's be very neutral on brands, can you tell us what some of your favorite, just personal, that are doing it right, whether it's the automaker themselves or a type of vehicle right now, that are just doing it all really well?
Toyota have their feet on the ground, and they saw that America was not ready for full-blown electric vehicles, and so they didn't invest like others did. They didn't jump in with both feet.
They're able to spend their money on furthering the driver experience for the cars they already produce, right, and safety and some of those other bells and whistles.
So as we retrench and as we reset, they're a little bit ahead of the game in that regard because their R&D money was not spent on a failed technology.
So any Toyota, or are there some specific Toyotas that are, kind of doing better right now?
Well, any Toyota, the company in general has just simply understood the market a lot better, and they listened. As you know, you're a veteran of a lot of political campaigns. Sometimes you got to listen to what people are saying. Audience
analysis is key.
Yeah.
I'm very big on that. What about in the luxury car situation? Who's really hot right now?
That just booms. That continues to grow. I always say we have our own auto show. They're all luxury cars right now. They come on and, backup cameras, things that we just never dreamed of 10 years ago. They're in every car. They're all very well appointed. These cars, the tech in these cars is incredible. I would say Cadillac was going to be 100% electric. They've backed off of that claim now. They're not going to be 100% electric.
Interesting.
Land Rover, I think, is Range Rover is always kind of on the cutting edge of what's new. Volvo is a very good company that seems to understand their customer very well. So they're out there.
I'm still very committed to Audi. So that's kind of, until I can afford the Porsche, I'll probably stick with Audi.
You look good in an Audi.
Well, thank you. It's it's kind of more a little more subdued. Yeah. I don't need the flashiness. What about you've taught me that Americans really like trucks and SUVs. Is that still true in the U.S.?
It's very true. The majority of the cars, the vehicles that new car dealers sell are trucks, and by that I mean a pickup truck, an SUV, anything built on a truck chassis. So the national number is about 60%. Wow. In Minnesota, where I'm the lobbyist for, it's closer to 90%.
Wow.
They buy a lot of trucks.
Wow. Which makes sense for the terrain and all the different seasons that you have to drive in the state of Minnesota and even in the Midwest. What about internationally? What are some of the faves?
Well, internationally, it's interesting. The biggest car manufacturer in the world is BYD, and BYD stands for Build Your Dreams, and it is a Chinese vehicle, and it strikes fear in the hearts of any mainstream manufacturer. The Chinese have built a vehicle, an electric vehicle, and it competes. It's a very good car. It competes with its counterparts built from domestic manufacturers, but it's only $25,000. It's
wow.
far cheaper, and the Chinese can do that because they're a socialist, communist dictatorship, and there's no supplier coming in building them a transmission and taking 30%. They don't allow that.
Right.
So they've streamlined everything. They build it from they mine the ore right up to the point of rolling the vehicle off the assembly line. So they control the entire process. And when you're a dictatorship, you can do that.
Are BYD cars at all in the U.S.?
No, they're not. They're available everywhere in the world. They're chewing up markets, and they're available everywhere except the United States and Canada. And they are hunting down Volkswagen and Toyota as the top manufacturers.
And what kind of
in the
size?
world.
Is this a sedan or is it more of an SUV?
It's more of a crossover size vehicle, but it's compelling, and it's just a matter of time till it comes to the United States. And
You heard it here first, folks.
it'll be a game changer when it appears.
Wow, because then that makes all the other manufacturers
Right.
really have to sit up straight, right? And
Exactly.
get all their budgets in order. Well, so informative. Thanks so much for bringing us up to speed, no pun intended, on EVs and all things auto. Connect directly with Scott and his team. Find out more about the industry at mada.org. Today's case file is powered by Spoke 612 Productions. Spoke 612 Productions takes your ideas and brings them to life. Linda, Sarah, and Matt are committed to excellence and inclusivity. As a WeBank certified women-owned production company, Spoke 612 inspires awareness and delivers impact through storytelling. When you put your project in their hands, Spoke 612 draws on their own talents and experience to ensure they tell the best possible version of your story. Visit their portfolio at spoke612.com. Rate, review, and subscribe to The Crisis Files on your platform of choice. Follow us on YouTube, X, and Instagram at The Crisis Files. Visit thecrisisfiles.com for all 4 seasons of the show. I'm Roshini Rajkumar. Join me next time on The Crisis Files.